Welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Burrito. This week, we've got Kyle Vandiver, Carl Jochumsen. And if you are lost in trying to figure out how to become a professional bass angler or move up the ranks in tournament fishing, that is what we're going to cover this week. And I think this is going to end up being a multi-part deal. So we're going to get into some of the stuff today of like what route Carl took, what route I took, what route Vandy tried to take and didn't make it. And he retired after 2 tournaments. But we're going to run through that and then even get into kind of things that maybe we would have done differently through our journey and what we've learned along the way. So I guess just to jump into it, what route did you take? There's going to be some people that know the route you took, obviously, through the gauntlet of the Bassmaster Opens, but like, tell us kind of what year you started, how long it took you, how many tournaments a year were you fishing? Like, what was your living situation like? Let's get into the weeds of it.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Bass kind of did a pretty good job of like I sort of had to sit back and sort of say, how do I get here? The pinnacle was the Bassmaster Elite Series. And I think that's probably important straight up for an angler to be like, where do I want to go? Is it the Bassmaster Classic? Is it the Elite Series? That's where I want to go. And then you can basically reverse it from there and say, what steps am I going to take? And now it's obviously exploded. There's high school and college. There's so many different routes. But my route was the Bassmaster Opens. Obviously, I started in Australia, competed for 10 years there, fished every single ABT tournament that I could there. But while I was fishing there, my goal was, how do I get to America and compete?
Yeah. And you're not even fishing for bass.
Yeah, not even.
No largemouth, no smallmouth, no spots.
Yeah.
They're like an Australian version of a bass that lives more like what?
Kind of like a hybrid.
They're like a white bass kind of deal, huh?
But so that's why, so many Americans are like kids, and even adults are like, they're in their 30s or their 40s, and they always say like, I want to get to where you are. It seems impossible. I'm like, well, I was living in another country and I made it. So like, if you're born in America and you're living here, you have an unbelievable opportunity to make a living out of tournament bass fishing. There's never been a better time. It's as good as it's ever been. But you knew Ben Jarrett really well through Skeeter. And for me, I think a lot of people are scared to tell their dreams, put it out loud. They keep it in tight, and they think they know what they want to do, but they're not game to tell anyone. Well, I think what I got lucky with was I put it out there all the time. I was like, I'm gonna come fish as a pro in Australia. And everyone's like, no one does that. You're too young. Blah, blah, blah. And then I got to do it. And then I'm like, I'm going to win as a pro. And I tell everyone that, and it put a lot of pressure on me because I'm like, I got to do it now. But what that did was it put it out there to other people. And then guys that could actually helped me. Like guys that had what I wanted, that saw something in me, would jump in and say, look, this kid's doing everything he can to get there, and I can see he's doing some stuff wrong or he's making it hard on himself, and they would intervene and help me in some way. And like one of those opportunities where it came was I won this trip to America to compete over here, and it gave me this little taste. That's what I wanted. I was like, what's it going to be like? And I got in front of Ben Jarrett at Skeeter Boats. He was like the man there, which Chris Brown is now.
Yeah.
And I told him, this is what I want to do. And I had people with me like, don't say, like when I came over, like, you're crazy talking like that or saying that or it's impossible. And I said, I want to come back over and I want to compete and I want to make it to the Elite Series. And he just sat there and he was like, I'll write you an email out and I'll tell you like, this is the route I would take.
Like when you won that trip, how did you win that and what did that entail? Like what came with that trip?
So ABT, Australian Bass Tournaments, they Steve Morgan started it in 99, I think. I started fishing it in 2000 as a co-angler, and then the next year went as a pro. But what we would call our Bassmaster Classic, it's called the Grand Final, and it was the top 30 boats out of that, and the prize was expenses paid trip to the US to choose a tournament, whatever you wanted to fish, expenses paid.
Yeah.
And Skeeter sponsored it. Josh Battison, he was like the owner of Skeeter Boats, and he was starting to import Skeeter into Australia. So he sponsored that, and he would take you over, and he knew America, knew his way around.
Yeah.
He'd been to the Skeeter factory a bunch of times. So like he was great. And so like there was my goal then. Okay, I seen that. I need to win that, because that was your opportunity. My in.
Yeah.
And so for 10 years, I came second twice, I came third twice, I came top 10 every time.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't win it. And back then I was 16 one time, I come second. And like I was so shattered. I was like, was the opportunity of my lifetime. I missed it, all of that. Thank God I didn't win it then, because like I would have screwed it all up. I wasn't ready. And so 10 years later in 2009, I won it. And so that got me expenses paid trip to the US, and I did that, and I picked the US Open, which was in Lake Mead, and this is where the contacts and everything started, and me putting my dream out there. Like fate and God and all of these things back then when I look at it, I'm like, it's unbelievable how it all happened. But I drew Fred Rombanis on day 3 on the US Open. I watched him on ESPN catching those frogfish, all of that. Like stuff. I couldn't believe I got him, and I was whacking him on me. Like it was crazy. I was using my Australian techniques, and dude, I mean, like as soon as I was there and I was competing, I've seen the tackle stores. I'm just like, all I'm thinking of while I'm sitting there is like, what have I got to sell? What have I got to do to move back here? This is where I want to be. Yeah. And as soon as I got in the boat with Fred, I'm just talking his ear off, just like, what would you do? How do you do this? So Fred's telling me, and when I started catching him, Fred was like, you know, dude, you've got what, like at the end of the day, he pumped me up. He was like, you've got what it takes, dude. I come second in the US Open as a co, but I caught a bunch. I got big bass for the whole tournament. Yeah. Like it was one of those things that it fired me up. Anyway, I end up getting in front of Ben Jarrett, and I said, this is what I want to do. And he wrote me a list out, and fast forward, I've got to do that for Tommy Wood, who's over here now, and other guys, and that's what we'll talk about now, is because I've gone like, dude, this is what I did wrong, and this is what I would do now. And for me, it was a bit different because I had I had money saved up. I sold everything. I went all in. That's probably something you can talk about.
So like from the time that you won that trip to how long was it before you like sold everything, said like, I'm coming back to America? Like, was that the next year? Yeah. Was that
so I did a full year. I got back and I said, that's it. I'm going back. And I went home, and then I just started, and I work in full-time tackle store. I did that. I was working full-time in retail tackle for 10 years, and I had an awesome boat. I had a Skeeter ZX190. Like I'd saved all of that and bought all of that off a retail wage, and just fishing tournaments in Australia. And so I had a good life, and all of my friends, family, everything was there, and I'd made a bit of a name for myself tournament fishing, had good sponsors, but you know, this is where I wanted to be. So I saved for a year. So 1 full year, I worked full time. I started to sell everything, started to get things in place, and then like Bass in a tournament series, they held like a fundraiser for me, and they raised 20 grand, which was massive. Like it was unreal. People actually wanted to see me get out of there because they're like, I'm sick of this kid. It was pretty cool. Had a ton of support. So 1 year later, and I knew one person in America. His name was Gary Boyd. He was an older guy that used to come to Australia and fish. And he said to me one time when I was probably 17, I got off the bank and I seen him, and he had an American accent. I didn't know who he was. And he'd been following me, and he was like, boy, you need to get to America. And I like looked at him like he was crazy kind of thing. And he was like, no, I'm serious. Like that's where you need to be.
And this is like 8 or 9 years before you had qualified. to fish the US Open
like
deal.
way before all of that. I'd talked about it, but and then I end up moving to his place. So mistakes I made, and like, I didn't make any mistakes because I made it. I got here. So it was all meant to be. But what I did was I wasted a lot of time and money sort of like floating and fishing and not having that direction. Like I was trying to fish. I was in California. I'm trying to learn, but I'm spending money all the time. And like, I wish I had then I wasn't quite sure. I didn't have that
a little more direction.
Just kinda. That direction of like, I wish I fished as a co-angler, fished with more people, saved more. And I end up getting on that track later, but I spent a lot of money just like fishing and sort of floating and being like waiting for something to happen rather than like being like, no, I need to be. And this is what Tommy Wood's doing now. He's going to be a great example because he's like, and even he is struggling because he's going to have to go home and save money. But at least he's like, he came co-angler, fish with as many people, see as many lakes.
And then he's fishing as a boater this year in the Opens.
He's fishing as a pro.
Yeah.
But I think getting, fishing with as many people and learning as much as I could early. And then I guess I jumped into the Bassmaster Opens. I'm just trying to think. I was going along there somewhere, something decent. But
how long did you? So you moved in with Gary.
Yep.
How long did you live with Gary when you first came over? A year.
Yep.
And then at some point you ended up moving in with Fred.
Yeah. So story there is I was pretty much, it was after nearly a year, I was like, this is impossible. I'm not getting anywhere. Yeah. And I actually thought about going home. It was just too hard. I missed my family. I missed everyone. And I'm like, this is literally impossible. And like the tournaments weren't as big as I thought because California wasn't cranking like what used to, it was, here's another one. I moved here in the middle of like when the recession was.
Like 08, 09,
So if I thought about it, I didn't even know. I didn't know financially what was going on. When I didn't care. So like when I think about the dollar and people saying America this and times are tough. Yeah. No one told me anything. I got here and like companies wouldn't even give me a lure. Like they were just like tight. And I was like, and then I realized, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a real struggle right now in the industry. There was boats for sale everywhere. They were cheap. And here I am just like with this chunk of money that I'd saved and sold all my stuff and I'm spending it. Mm-hmm. And there's no one's even going to look at you to sponsor you. There's not a chance. So like, there's going to be all of those things in your way the whole time, especially leading up. But in the end, like fate got in the way with me. And right when I'm about to quit, because I was putting my dreams out there all the time and using energy and effort to go after it, I was like, before I leave America, I have to see an Elite Series event. That's what I want to do. And I typed in the GPS and it said, and back then I messaged you, remember I thought I was fishing out of your nation's boat because they gave me one to fish out of. And so I'd planned how to drop that boat off, how to sell my truck and how to fly out of Dallas there and go home. I'm never coming back to America again. Yeah. Like this is it. I had the experience. It was way too hard, spending all of my money. And I'm like, I just want to see an Elite Series. So I drove across the country and I come around the corner of West Point Lake. And so I've driven for 2 days on my own.
This is like 2011 at this point. 2011, it was like my rookie year.
Yeah, your rookie year. And I come around the corner and it's like Saturday and it's like beautiful weather and there's just jammed cars. I can't get in. And then I turn the corner and there's this huge like sand carving of a giant bass that says like, welcome Bassmaster Elites. Like I remember all of this and I find a parking spot. I'm just on my own. I don't know anyone. I don't know where I'm going to stay that night. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And I walk up and I'm just standing in the crowd and it's just packed and the Elite Series guys are weighing in and I'm like goosebumps. I'm just like watching. I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be, because I'd been in California fishing the one bass, which was awesome. I loved it. And I got to experience all of those lakes and I learned a bunch, but I'm like, this is what I come to see. Yeah. So I'm like, it is huge.
Like reignited that spark a little bit.
Sparked it, yeah. So I'm like, I got this now. I'm like, all my brain's thinking is like, okay, now what do I do? Like and I'm standing there like this and I hear Carl, and I'm like looking around and I'm like, someone's saying my name. It's a lady's voice and she's like, Carl. And I look and it's Julie Rombanis. And she remembered me from like 3 years, like it'd been nearly 3 years by this stage. And I'd tried to reach out to Fred, but back then it was like there was no Facebook, email, nothing. Like I didn't even have his number, but he was saying like, come and he's like, I'll help you if you come over. And I tried to reach him. I just couldn't get hold of him. And she just comes over and she's like, Fred, I'd love to meet you. Love to see you. So Fred weighs in. I go over and Fred's like, dude, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I sold everything and I moved here. He's like, no, you didn't. I was like, yeah. And he's like, come back to my place. We'll fish. And boom, I was back like going again. And so that's when it really started for me, because then Fred was like, you need to do this. You need to fish as a co-angler. And then I went as a marshal. That was when I did the marshal for a whole year. Fished as many teams tournaments with Fred as I could.
He gave you the blueprint.
He sort of started to give me more of the blueprint. Yeah. And then, the biggest thing too is like a lot of guys the last couple of years been complaining about fishing all 9 events. I signed up for all 9, not when you had to. I just not because I knew I had to do that. Like you have, we saw it over and over. You needed the
experience
I'm crazy if I think I'm going to make it around Oklahoma, which I could have. And in the end, I did. I made it through that Centrals, and then go to St. Lawrence River with a spin rod. Never fished it before. Like that would be crazy. So I signed up for all 9 opens and I fished every one that I could, trying to gather that experience. I had my thing would probably be, I put my dreams out there. I put my goals out there. I told everyone what I wanted and what I was going to do. And when I did that, and I went after it, I didn't wait. People can't come into my life nonstop when to the death. You just thought there was nothing gonna, no more. I've done everything, and then boom, something like Fred would happen, and then Gene, I was gonna quit again. Gene came in, was gonna quit again, running out of money. Boom, something else, and I'm like, but it was only because I was putting it out there, so people knew what. They were like, this kid wants this bad. And then they saw me chasing it as hard as I could with everything I got. And I put the tough times in there a lot too, telling people. And so it was that, fishing as much as I can. But, people, you can make it without the money too. We'll get into that, but there's just a lot of things of people saying like, you've got to have rich parents, you got to have this, you got to have that. No, there's a ton of us out there that have made it from scratch and gone fully broke, which I did a couple times, even when I made the elites. And that can be in part 2 or part 3 of this, because we can talk about it, but you just have to have that relentless attitude of like, it can't. G-Man said a good one in the Bass University. It can't make sense. You can't try and make sense of it, because if you do, you're not going to do it. It doesn't make sense. You just have to love it so much that you're not going to let anything get in your way. Yeah. Me and Kyle talked about this just the other night of saying when it is really tough and when you're down and you're just nearly in tears and you're going to lose everything, that's where every single person quits right there. Yeah. So when you're feeling that, you're in the right spot. You just got to keep going. It's not going to be easy to get your dream and to get everything that you want. So back then, I wish I didn't let those tough times hurt me as much, because I got really down a lot. Like even on the Elite Series when I was in the 90s.
It used to be bad.
I'd just go and sit in my camper and I was like a failure. And Jeremy said an awesome
2 days it would take 2 or
3 days I'd be out. Yeah. I couldn't get up couldn't even get out of the camper. There were several times where Kayla went to all you guys would be having cookouts and Van Dam and Skeet and all the guys would be there, I wouldn't go. I'm just like, I would feel like I was a failure and I don't deserve to like be there. And I would go away and I'm like, that did nothing. If I had went there and you and Van Dam were like, because you guys are in it, you would have been like, it happens to us all. It's all good. You'll catch them next time. Do this. It would have sparked me up and probably gave me a boost to get up quicker and go after the next thing. But instead I like sat in it and then you felt alone and it was only happening to me. Not
it was all
else.
self-inflicted. No one else was putting that pressure on you.
No, it was just me doing it to me. And like, that would be, I try and help guys so much now because I see the look on their face and I'm like, dude, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You got to get out of that as quick as you can so you can move forward like faster. Like you're sitting there sulking, feeling sorry for yourself is doing absolutely nothing. It's actually making you go backwards. And I did a lot of it. But at the same time, that pain made me go, I don't want to feel this anymore. So when I went to fish and compete, I fished harder the next time. I stayed later. I did those things. What have I got to fix? So like the sting can be good for you at the same time, but I let it like hurt me too much. And now I don't let it get me down like that. I still don't like losing and it still hurts, but you go backwards when you let it hurt you that much, you know.
But it's hard because it kind of gives you, it, like you said, it lights the fire in you. And both of you guys have that. You're competitive. I think any competitor, when you fail, you have that tendency to be like, damn, like it's almost like shame.
Yeah.
But I think that's like what makes you guys you too. Because I see it like everybody that has a failure, you lose a tournament, you don't have a great finish. You're kind of just like, you're not happy. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll say it over and over and over. It's the most losing sport in the world.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Everyone wants the blue trophy, but nobody wants the heartache. Nobody wants the work.
I don't see that. What did Jeremy say in your last podcast? It was like, I messaged it to you. I don't know if I can remember it. It was like,
I don't know.
It's some good nuggets in that whole
I messaged
thing.
you and Jeremy.
Yeah, you sent it to us in the group text.
It was like, don't let like your one day failure like define
the rest of your days,
like kinda. Who you are. Like it's just a one day failure. Like it's just a one day. You're not even a failure. You're not a failure. You're failing if you quit.
Yeah.
But if you get up the next day and go after it, that's behind you now. You're back on track. And you know, appreciating those grind times like what we were saying the other night, because sometimes you go and you get that blue trophy and you go and get what you want, you make the elites. Now what, like, you're like, okay, I got it. Like, so.
Yeah, here, I found the text. And I'll just read what you wrote. You said, there was a part where Tripp said, you have to let the process define you. If you judge yourself from that one day for your self-worth, you're going to lose.
That's powerful.
Dang.
Like, I wish I had heard that when I was
the process is what?
Process is
it makes you, it molds you.
Yeah.
But you like to think about that. If the process is what defines you, if you quit in the process,
then
that's what's defining you, right?
Yeah, that's the loss.
Yeah.
You did actually lose.
When you hit those road bumps, you know, those speed bumps, and you come over the other side, like there's always something good, right? Like I talked about that at Okeechobee. Most of my greatest moments have came directly after some of my hardest moments, you know, whether it be a couple months later, year later, but it always follows, right? And it's this roller coaster of life, and chasing the top level of bass fishing is no different.
Yeah.
You left a perfectly good life in Australia to come over here and struggle for years and years and years, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have stayed over there, been perfectly happy, like just got married to some chick over there and
stayed on top of fishing.
Yeah,
like, I'm the guy. Like instead I went to the bottom of the barrel. Like,
came over here and just threw that all away to chase something that you had actually never even chased. You'd never even caught actual bass. You'd only watched it on TV. And you just said, "Oh, I'm just going to come over here and do it." You get that little taste of success in the US Open, and then you were all in.
Yep.
The difference is that when that success went away, you didn't quit.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, Fear My Heart that's like your mantra now. It's on hats and t-shirts and Yeti mugs and whatever else. But it's not, like, that is kind of the thing that defines you.
Yeah.
Because through that process, that was the thing that you always leaned on before you even had a way to say it.
Yeah, that was ever a thing. It was like, this is all I got.
Yeah.
This is what I've got. I know how to not quit.
Yeah. Like, heart was the thing that you had to go. How much do you think having that bit of success, how important was that? Like, in the Open, do you think, like, if you would have came over in the US Open, finished in the bottom,
yeah,
do you think you would have still had the same feeling of, like, this is what I need to come do? Or do you think that's just part of the fate? Like, that's just how it was meant to be drawn out?
Yeah, I think I still would have, because I'd made up my mind, just the fishing and just being in the US and seeing the opportunities and
your mind was made up
when I got
years and years before you ever qualified for that.
I think for sure. And what I always sometimes, even Australians, when I go home to Australia, I always have to remind them how freaking cool the country is and how lucky they are, and look at these opportunities, because they can be just like, this and that and that. I'm like, this is unreal. When I come home, look at this. And Americans, they sometimes need an outsider like me to come in and say, you know how freaking awesome this is, this country? Like, you guys champion hunting and fishing. It's at the top. Where I come from, in Australia, I never spoke to anyone about hunting. Yeah. I couldn't say that out loud. I couldn't, talk about fishing. Like, America, they champion it. But getting back on track, probably could talk a little bit about Tommy. That was my path. Now it's a lot different, I guess. Now, like, I would do things different. And I think since 2011 to 2025 now, if you were someone out there, I guess you could speak a little bit more on a bit of your path. But we should, I think, talk about, because we're just getting so many questions of people, like, they want to do this, they want to be a part of it, but they're just not sure how to jump. And I think you're going to have everyone, I think, has a similar story to me and you, and we've all got, like, it's all molds into one, but it's also so different that, like, you can't look at me and look at you and say, that's what I'm going to do. You've kind of got to mold your own fate. How is it going to work for me? Like, what kind of person am I? How am I going to fish? How am I going to get sponsors? How am I going to make it? And sort of create your own path. And I think we should talk about, what would you do right now? Looking from your point of view, from your path, it's totally different to mine, even though it was similar. And then how would you change it to, I guess, what would you do now?
What I'm curious too, from being on the outside, is like, what would you guys say your, like, playbook for advice to become a pro bass fisherman? What is that now and today? Like, a kid that's 17, 18, 25, trying to become a pro angler, is there 5 tips or, 8 tips that you would give to those guys that are trying to make it in the elites or the opens? What would that be? I know you said, like, you wish you would have been a co-angler. Like, along those lines, is there, like, 5 to 8 things you would say that these people need to adopt, or that's, like, a general way of trying to make the elites? Is there something on that?
Right now, more than anything, I think it's understanding the fundamentals of bass fishing basics.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what the future holds, when it comes to technology and things like that. They could say next year, no more forward-facing sonar.
Yeah, a lot changes then.
If you are pigeonholed, like, if that is your one thing that you rely on, then where's your dream going to go? Right. Like if all of your success is lined up in that, that's really difficult, right? If that's where you've put all your eggs in that basket. Now, right now it looks really good because it's a usable tool. It's highly effective. But if it was to go away tomorrow, would you still be able to compete?
Yeah.
You know, or would you still want to compete? And I think that's a big thing, right?
Yeah,
It's no different than being diversified in your sponsorships, or if you're in the stocks, like being diversified in stocks. Like Kyle puts all his money in Tesla. Well, when Tesla goes down, Kyle goes broke. When Tesla goes up, Kyle's up.
That felt personal.
That sounded like that happened.
It feels personal because it's true.
Anti-diversified.
But like being diversified in your skill sets, I think is a huge thing, because with or without the technology, you need to understand that. And then, you know, being diversified off of the water as well. And I don't want to dive too much into the sponsorship side of it.
Yeah.
We'll do that on the next part of this. But I think that, you know, that's a big thing. And sacrifice, I think people are, you know, not willing to sacrifice, you know, whether it's going out and hanging out with their friends on a Friday night when they should be going to bed because they got a tournament the next day, or just all those little things that you have to be willing to give up, because you only have so much time in a day. And if it's truly what you want to do, it's why I say you have to physically and mentally not be able to live without it, because you have to be willing to push everything else aside. You have to be selfish, but humble, right? You know, it's like there has to be a level of selfishness because it requires so much time. That was one of the first things I told Tiff when we got together. I'm like, look, my job is very selfish.
Yeah.
It's not because I want to be a selfish person, but this is the dream that I want to live out, and this is what I want my life to look like. And to do that, that requires a level of selfishness, you know, and that
can change. That has changed. That's what
it changes every year.
Every year.
You get married, it changes. You have kids, it changes. But it's still there.
Yeah.
You just have to adjust your buckets, right? How much time and energy you're putting into those different buckets, and you learn ways to be more efficient and more effective. Yeah. And so I think, you know, being diversified, learning the basics on and off the water, and then sacrificing, like those are just some of the biggest things for me.
The you know, it gets spoke about a lot now, but like time, like you've said, but time on the water, when you're younger and you have that time, you better be doing it. You better be, like when you can go to a lake and idle for a week and look, you better be doing it. And some guys, I've heard them talk like, this is why these young guys are winning so much and the older guys aren't. Like, the older guys did that. They've done that for 20 years already. They got a family, wife, house payment, sponsors, stuff. They're not going to a lake and idling from daylight till dark. You can't. You physically can't. So it annoys me when they say that, because I'm like, they've done the work. We've done the apprenticeship. You're just in it now.
It's a cycle.
You're a cycle. Yeah. We don't want to be out there idling daylight till dark when our family is at home. We will do that during practice and when we need to put our head down. But that's what makes what you've done impressive. And a lot of guys is like managing the family, the kids, business, sponsors. That's when the real
There's
true
more
grind.
responsibilities.
When you don't have that, don't wish for what you have, because you can't handle it right now. You, like a lot of kids, how do I get sponsorships? Well, it's going to come with this amount of days off the water at shows, you know, shooting content, doing this and this. Well, you're not good enough to compete on the elites right now. And so you can't be doing all of that. You need to be learning and getting better so you can keep up. And the kids that are doing that and the people that have the opportunities, take every advantage of that. Get on the water and fish daylight till dark. And if your mum and dad are supporting you, that's even better too. If they're not, manage your money, but be on the water. That's gonna like advance you past all the people that aren't. It is gonna like we're here, and although we're at the echelon where you want to get to, that time on the water is going to get you a faster route to where you want to be. But don't wish for like what we have right now if you're back here, because if you had the workload that we have right now, then you're not going to get good enough to compete.
So if you're a high school kid, right now, what's your blueprint? What would you do? Say you're a high school kid, both your parents work 40, 60 hours a week. They can't buy you all the latest, greatest stuff. You can't be on the water 3 or 4 days a week. What is your route?
That was my route. A thing that doesn't get talked about that much, which was a huge leapfrog for me, was working in a tackle store.
Yeah.
That was massive. I got so many contacts. I was ahead. There's a reason I was that good in Australia is I was ahead of the game on everyone. Every little bait that come in, lure, I was on it. Yeah. And I was constantly, guys are coming in, just fish Somerset, and they were good anglers, and then they're telling me how they caught them, what depth, and I'm just putting stuff together. I'm just a kid in a tackle store. I'm a sponge, but like I'm up there as far as fishing goes, but I'm listening to everyone, taking all these little things in. And so you work in a tackle store around Hartwell or whatever, and you're in amongst the tackle industry and you're fishing on the weekends. Like, you don't need to fish every single day, but in the summertime, you can fish in the morning, you can fish in the afternoon, and you can get 2 to 3 days off. That's a lot of fishing. Plus you're in the tackle industry and you're around the right people. That's like, you're going to meet reps, you're going to meet tackle owner industry, you're going to meet tackle owners, you're going to meet all the right people, and they're struggling to find kids to actually want to do it. So like for me, 10 years in tackle retail, it taught me how to sell. It taught me how to like promote sponsorships and promote and sell tackle. It all helped me. So if you want to like get into the industry, go into a tackle store and say, I want a job, and get a job in that, and you'll get in amongst it real quick. And so for me, I would be doing something like that. I'd be working in the tackle industry. I wouldn't be trying to be in a roofing business and or you know what I mean? Like do something that pays real good, but it's going to take a bunch of your time and you're going to be dancing around. I'd try and...
It maximizes your exposure in the fishing industry.
You're in the fishing industry. You could... Like, they're all looking for it. You could be a rep. You could be working at a taxi. Like, the film industry is unbelievable. They're looking for videographers. That gets you right in amongst all the right people. Now you're fishing. It doesn't have to be the top of the line boat. Just get a boat and truck as best as you can. And then I'd be spending every ounce I could on the water. And then I'd be fishing like BFL styles, teams tournaments with your mates. I'd be going as a co-angler as many as I can, because co-angler, I saw what not to do and I saw what to do. You get a real good round. You're going to get guys you're like, this guy shouldn't be here. I know what he's making crazy decisions. I learned more about that. Like even when I marshaled, I'm like, well, this is not what to do because he's freaking out. It's 9 o'clock, like running around. So, and then I got to see the guy calm right through, not catching him 1 o'clock, and he's still like doing his thing, persistent. Next minute he catches a good limit and he's like crushing it. So, marshalling, going as a co-angler. And then, that's what I told Tommy to do. And so Tommy came to the US, fished as a co-angler for the first year, and he marshaled for quite a few. And like that gave him the like, this is what the high end guys are like, and this is the little intricate things they do, and then this is what the opens guy do. And now he's jumped back in and he's fishing as a pro, and he's fishing all of them, and he's doing really well. Like, he's not having that huge bomb like year that you
Yeah.
would expect an Aussie to come over and do in the Opens.
Yeah.
He's actually being competitive, and he has a real shot to make the elites. And I like to see people struggle a bit first. I think the worst thing that can happen to you is come in, win an Open, win this, make the elite. Sometimes that's the worst thing, but sometimes you have no option. And for Tommy, he kind of doesn't have too many options. Like he's got to make it to get the sponsorship, to be able to stay here, to live here. Like if you've got all the time in the world, you can take a breath and you got the money and you can move slow. But sometimes you don't have that. So you're going to have to go hard. But you got to have that base first. Like I just don't like someone fishing around and then it's like Opens, I'm going to make the elites. And I'm like, you need to experience this whole thing and get just a decent base under you before you fish the Opens. But really there's an unbelievable route. It's high school into college and into the Opens, or just competing, getting to a stage where you're good enough and jumping into the Bassmaster Opens. Like the route is right there, ready for you. I just think.
Yeah. And if you don't have the time or the finances, there's the Bass Nation.
Yeah. I don't understand that as much because
it's
that's
changed.
What you could talk about.
Like it's changed since I did it. So I don't even know exactly how it's laid out, but the Bass Nation is like, if you're a
working
30, 35-year-old guy, like you've already went through college, right? Or like college wasn't even that big when you started, or when you were in college fishing wasn't a huge thing. You know, you're like that mid-level guy, or, you know, had a family early. The Bass Nation is a great way to do it cost effectively because your travel's not going to be as strenuous. You can qualify before you commit to the travel, right? So you can like qualify for the divisional tournament through your state team. Then you can go to the divisional tournament. Then if you know, so that's just one little piece of time off of work or something. Then you can, if you make it through that and then you qualify for the nationals, well, then you go there, you win that, you're in. You're in the elites. Nice. You're in the classic. Awesome. So it's a super difficult route to make it that way, but it's a cost-effective route. So for
less
me,
risk, like, almost like less risk on your bank account to like, like I'm going to do a 9 Opens. That's going to be 50 grand or 60 grand cost. You can touch on it, say, am I good enough here?
Which now you can do, what is it, 4 Opens in each series and then the 3 afterwards?
Yeah.
Is that how it's set up now?
4 and 4 and then 3.
Yeah. So
you do only have to do 4.
Do 4, and then if you did make it, then you're going to have to figure out how to go do the next 3. But that's still, you know, whatever they are, $2,000 entry fees or something, $1,800, $2,000, and then you've got your travel expenses. So, like when I was growing up, being in Idaho, that was not an option. Like financially, it wasn't an option. Time wise, it wasn't an option. The Bass Nation was the only route I had. Like the Opens was not even on the table. And that's when you were talking about earlier of like knowing your situation and like what is available to you or what is realistic to you, and then not getting caught up in looking at someone else and saying, oh, you know, they get to go do that.
Yeah.
There is a route and an opportunity for everybody, no matter what their situation is. It may take a little bit more work. It may take a little bit more time. But if you have the heart or, you know, the drive and the willingness to go chase it, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
Like there's not someone just saying roadblock, roads closed, never open.
Yeah.
You know, that there's always an opportunity. I just think too many people quit when that gate or that door closes and, you know, they don't open it up to the next one. And that I think now, you see the average age of the elites just falling.
Yeah.
When I qualified, I think the average age was like 42.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Because there wasn't the opportunity for a younger guy to do it. You couldn't be 19, come out of high school, afford to go right into the opens, travel, make it, and you at that time you probably weren't spending as much time on the water. Now you have high school fishing, so you're spending more time in a tournament environment, making tournament-based decisions on the water. Then you go to college. Well, now you have college funding. You have someone else footing the bill for a lot of, the next generation. So that's an incredible opportunity. A school saying, hey, here's money. We'll even provide some boats at certain schools, and we'll give you guys gas money. You get the time off excused from your classes. Like, go fish tournaments. That's
unbelievable.
That's unreal.
That's crazy.
And so that's why you're seeing that average age of the elites drop. That learning curve is shortened.
Yeah.
And then the access to information. I'm not talking information of waypoints and where to go catch a bass, specifically on a body of water.
Yeah.
I'm talking just the information on the internet that you can scour YouTube videos and you can learn every single technique from anywhere in the world of how to catch a bass. Like, you could build out an entire blueprint of how to do it. And it's all laid out there for you. And so you're like, oh, I want to learn how to catch them on a glide bait. Well, dude, how do I catch fish on a glide bait? Oh, boom, pops up a video of Carl talking about
some of the best guys in the world doing it. You can be as good, like pretty fast.
Oh yeah. And guess what? It's for free.
Yeah.
They gave it to me.
They gave it to me.
They just gave it to me. And I mean, even if Vandy can even type in some search and
so you're saying I could actually be an elite angler someday?
It's going to take. Remember
the wildest journey from.
We have to back up to the part where I said it's going to take some people a little bit longer than others.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not everyone can make it.
There's like a little asterisk in there.
That's a real thing. We laugh about it.
Yeah, no, 100%. You have to have skill.
Some people just aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it, is that I think having that self-awareness to be able to look at it and say, I'm just not cut out for it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's some people that want to just fish the opens, or they want to fish competitively, and they're like, I don't want to do it for a living. I have a ton of respect for those people.
Yeah.
Because I've met those people that are like, I don't want to do what you
that's
do.
right.
Like, I don't want to travel like that. Yep. There's even guys that have qualified for the elites that say, no, I don't want to. Like, they've got a great job at home. They got a family. They sleep in their own bed. There's enough big tournaments, team tournaments around their house. They're good.
Yeah, they're happy.
And if that's what you want to do that.
Yeah.
That's fine. But know that if you want to make it to the top level, you're going to have to give that up.
Yeah.
You can't, you're not going to be able to
not
do
at the
both.
start.
There's sacrifice.
Especially at the start.
Exactly.
What would you guys say is like I'm equating this like basketball. You're not going to be a likelihood of you being a pro basketball player if you're 5'10" is very low. What would you say, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical thing, but like, what is that thing for someone who's fishing? It's like, I don't got it.
It's mental.
It's just like the mental side of it.
Yeah.
If you lined up all 100+ guys in the Elite Series, there is not a cookie cutter shape and size.
Yeah.
I look nothing like Porosnik.
That was the one person I was thinking of.
Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
Like, and Carl's way taller than me and faster. Yeah. Like, it.
But it's not necessarily a physical thing.
Well, if you lined everyone up and you looked at the way they all think, that would be the same as their look. It would be so crazy. This guy just, because
it'd be a lot more similar. There's going to be some variances, but there's going to be that base level amount of thinking, drive, sacrifice, kind of the things we touched on. It's all internal. It's
And I
the
bet
internal conversations you have with yourself.
if you lined everyone up and here's the top guys and here's the guys that finish closer to the bottom, I bet you their minds are like similar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
All
it's
the
like a
way through.
scale.
Like the guys at the top, their
Yeah.
mindset's different to these guys that are fishing down low. And that doesn't mean
Consistently. Guys that are consistently at the bottom versus consistently at the top. And that the crazy part is that at any point in time, they can switch. It's like the hot crazy matrix.
Yeah.
Like at any point in time,
you can
someone from here can go here.
Yeah.
Because your confidence, it may take, say you're down here at the bottom, it may take years to build the confidence to get up here.
Yep.
And the fascinating thing with confidence is that one day can send you from here, years of work can send you from here straight back down here.
Yeah.
Now you've already done the work to get to here. So getting back there is generally quicker, but it is amazing it's never really one day, bam, you're back here.
Yeah.
One day you can drop, you can fall, but it's
a grind to get.
Like you never climb the ladder as fast as you fall off.
No, the climb of the ladder is the setbacks, the time you didn't give up and you kept going, the time it was 2:00 in the tournament and you had no bass and everything was beating you down. Like
it's defining you in the process, right?
This is which way you're going to go, dude. Everyone can speak of this, I guarantee you. And I bet you it'd be interesting to see if you've thought of this. It's popped into my head what I'm going to tell, this is years ago, what I'm going to tell Mercer how I didn't catch him on stage. Yeah. I'm in the tournament. Yeah. It hasn't ended yet. I'm still fishing.
Oh, you're still fishing.
I'm still fishing. And I'm like, it's 2:00. And I'm like, didn't catch it like that.
Haven't got him yet.
You got to cut that instantly. That thought can never come in your mind. People jump to that so quickly. And then it can just change. Dude, I think of that when I check in and I'm idling and I didn't catch him. Then it might pop into my mind like, damn, what am I? That sucks. But that's not going to, when it enters my mind, it gets cut off real quick. And there's a lot of guys that put themselves out before the tournament before the bell's even rung.
Yeah.
And just everything that you just said reminded me of a quote. I don't know who said it, but it was like, the actual truth is you can't lose if you don't quit. The actual real deal is that you can't actually lose if you keep going. The only time you lose is when you stop. All right, it's done. But if you keep going, you can't lose.
Yeah.
That's probably my best story is like, I'm not going to stop. So like, I haven't lost and I can't lose because I'm probably not going to stop. And if I stop, then I have lost, but I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. And I think it like shows with just like from the outside looking at you and Brandon, like one of the key traits I see in you both in all aspects of life is perseverance. Yeah. Like both of you guys took non-traditional routes to get here, but you guys are obsessed with what you do. You truly love it. And there's nothing that was going to get in the way of you. There's setbacks. There's things that are going to get you down and you're going to be upset about it. And naturally everybody would.
Yep.
But like, if you went home, like you went home to Australia, but you were like, I'm coming back. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm coming back. Like there's setbacks, but you never gave up.
Yep.
And I think that's like a good perspective to have for someone who's going after anything that they want to be. It could be video, it could be fishing, it could be basketball, football. But to understand that it's okay to have a setback. It's okay to fail. But as long as you continue to go, and we talked about the other day, it's like, it actually forms you. Like what Jeremy's thing is like your failures define you in some ways and they make you stronger rather than just like flash you into steel and then you're brittle. It takes time to create those things. And I think like that perspective on, hey, it's okay to have those failures because they make you better in the long run. The things that you feel, when you got DQ'd at Mississippi, like that was something you learned out of that. You could have moped and it could have ruined you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you chose to let it be better. Like that is a huge perspective to have when you're going through it too, I think.
Yeah.
In anything in life.
Which road are you going to take when you come to the crossroads, right?
And it's okay to like sit there for a second and be like, damn, that sucks.
Let it sting.
Everybody does
Let it sting. And then
but as long as you choose to
get
go
back
the
up.
right way, whatever that is for you. And I think a lot of it's like for us is not giving up. Like you find like both of you guys were really lucky, and you've said it before, is like you feel really fortunate to have found the thing that you love early.
That's the big one.
Yeah. Because you're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Both you guys are like crackheads with fishing.
Yeah.
Like that's just who you are. And that's like, you want to chase that. So
there was no other option.
Yeah.
The other thing that everyone constantly always, I think, thinks is like, and I thought this too all the time, is like the guys in the opens that had the brand new truck and the brand new boat and all the electronics, and they had the money and they had like an awesome job that they just got to go back to and then fish the opens. Like they had it all. I passed them all in the end. Like, do you know what I mean? Some of them don't even fish anymore. And I could have sat there and complained and whinged about it and like, look at these guys, they have all this money, they have this, they have that. And that would have set me back. But like everyone sees that. I know how that feels to you because you don't have it. Figure out how to do it and just keep doing it. I look at a lot of things in fitness. If you are working out and looking after your body and then you stop and this person beside you is not looking after themselves and things aren't going real well, you stop and they start going hard, and then you see them in 3 months and they're like, I've been sauna, cold plunge, working out every day, I've been running, I'm on this, I'm doing I started a podcast. You're going to go, holy cow, I've been doing this my whole life. I stopped for 3 months, 6 months. I've seen it happen. I've motivated guys and they've gone harder than me, and I've seen them in a little bit and I've gone, I need to step up my game. They're crushing it, and it happens that quick. So you're not 10 years back. You're not anything. You're just months. 3 months of hard consistency of fishing and looking at something and going after it. You'll jump past guys that have been doing it for 5-10 years that are a little bit slack, a little bit lazy. Oh, I've got it now. We can talk about this another time. We still have to work as hard as we can to keep everything that we've got. You don't just have it. Now we're like, oh, we've got good sponsors. We're in the elites. We have this. Takes everything you've got to keep it. And another big mistake that I made. In my mind, I thought, if I'm the only first Australian to make it to the Elite Series, like I literally thought I'd be set for life. I mean, like I've made it. I thought if I win an Elite Series, that would be it. I'd win $100,000. It's like, it's not. The next day you wake up and you've got to be like, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
That happened yesterday. You talk about it a lot. Like you've won and then you've gone like, that was yesterday. Like what's the next thing? And that's what has gotten you big time, because people relax on those wins a little bit. And you could win last week, and this guy, he's coming, he's working hard, he's grinding. I always see myself as that underdog of like, I want that next thing. And I always feel that breath on my neck of like, someone wants what I've got.
There's a hungrier dog.
Yeah.
There's always someone in line to take your spot.
Yep.
Always. But you can't be a dirtbag when you like that. I think that's a big thing, right? Where opportunities will come if you are doing the right things, doing them the right way, and you've got a little bit of humility.
Yeah,
I think that's why people were willing to jump in and help you.
Yeah.
Right. Because those opportunities would come up where they could help you. It's not like everyone was like, oh, Carl, you're winning all the time. Here you go. Here's all this stuff. It was like when you were down and out, people would step in and help, whatever it was, little things here and there. But it was because of your attitude, your demeanor, your work ethic. Those are the things that people saw that they wanted to help. And so you didn't have to have the money, but when the opportunity did come, when you did have the success, those same people were also willing to step up and say, here you go. We're going to take care of you.
Yep.
Because if you don't have those things, nobody's going to want to help you. Exactly. And you will be lonely. And that's where I think that line gets blurred of like, the money makes it easier. if you're a young kid and you're looking at someone else and their parents have the money, it makes their path easier, but easier isn't always better.
No.
And it doesn't mean that they're going to make it. They may get there quicker, but they may also burn out quicker.
Might lose it quicker.
And because they're not going to have the same appreciation, right? So everyone's going to come from a different path, and we're all trying to get to the same place at the end of the day. But have the self-awareness and kind of be okay with what your path is and what your process is, but do it in a right way where people want to help you.
Yeah.
And because I think that gets lost in a lot of that conversation. Because if you're just cussing everybody all the time and like nobody wants to be around you and you don't have the money and you're just moping around all the time, nobody's going to want to help you.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're positive and you're grinding and people see you working hard, like there's a community of people that want to help. That's like, I feel like, Easton was that way. Like, that's why I called Easton after the first couple of elites. Like, I saw him in the weigh-in line. We were in the same flight. Like, I could tell he was down and out.
Yeah.
But I also just felt like the little bit of communication I'd had with him and been around him,
you'd appreciate it.
Yeah. You just see those guys that, instantly when you get around him, you're like,
he's got it.
Yeah.
He's got that thing that you want to be a part of.
Exactly. I'm like, and so sometimes it's just a phone call or a conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's financial things, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys recognize that little bit of potentially like you? Like, you know what I mean? Like you see that hungry kid that wanted it,
100%.
but had like a last place finish at Okeechobee, or you know what I mean? Like you see that.
I can tell you this is exactly what it is. And this will be the biggest piece of advice I can ever give any kid, college, or even an older person. This is why I am where I am right now.
It's better be good.
I listen.
Yeah.
And no one does that. My mentor in Australia, John Schofield, he is why I have the mental things that I have. He taught me as a kid, and he gave me hard lessons. He said stuff that made me cry because I was complaining when I didn't do good. All of these things, he taught me everything. And he told me only last year that people ask, well, how did Carl make it? What did he do? What makes him get to there? And his response was, he listens. And they don't believe it. And you'll attest to this. What do you do when a kid comes up to you and he's staring at you and he's like, you're on your jersey and he's like all ears, and everything you speak is like he's soaking it like a sponge. You tell him your winning techniques. Yeah. You end up giving him whatever. Yeah. What does he want? What is this kid? What can I do for him? Yeah. Then you get the kid. Yeah, caught 25 yesterday on this. Oh, great job, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
And and conversations end. Even to this day, when you speak, G-Man speaks, anyone speaks, it could be about something that I already know about, and I know what we're talking about. I'm not going to cut it off. I'm not going to act not interested. I want to hear what you got to say, because a little nugget might come from that, a little piece that I'm going to add to my arsenal. I'm going to soak it in. And so I was that kid and you, I guarantee you were that kid that was looking at the pros, looking at the guy, looking at Jeremy, looking at his gear, looking at the boat, and they're looking at you going like, you want to get in the boat? You want make a cast? And you're taking everything in and then doing it. And once you, like Jeremy spoke about you making those casts in there, that sat him back. He's like, oh, he's listening to me.
Yeah.
Because you're not just up there winging around or like, oh, yeah, I can cast out the back, I'm good. He's like, throw at that bush. And you're like, okay. And then you make the perfect cast and you catch one. He's like, oh, this kid listens. I'll teach him anything.
Yeah.
And I'll teach any kid anything and give him anything he wants if he's got that little bit of humility, or any person that's just willing to listen and wants to learn.
Yeah.
And so if you're a kid, learn to like be quiet when people are talking, because as soon as you talk about what you know, the real guys are going to stop talking and they're not going to teach you. So that's one of my best traits.
That was actually good.
listening.
That was genius, actually. Wow.
Good. I'm glad you actually lived up to the hype before you spoke.
But that also goes for like
goal.
to like for now in your life too. You like listening is the most valuable thing you can do.
Yeah.
Or the biggest like positive trait you can have, and that goes for anything.
So even if you're listening to your
like
screaming kid.
relationships. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you talk about it too. Like you've talked about it before. It's like you know the difference of their like yells, their screams. Like when Kira cries,
it's real.
you know, like but you listen to that enough.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but
talking to friendships, it doesn't matter. That's not in fishing. It's friends, family, all the stuff, conversation. No one wants, they know when you've lost interest, so you're not actually looking at someone's eyes, like soaking. So it goes for everything in life. But in fishing, if you want to advance and you want to learn, you want to get better, listen when someone that's got what you want starts talking and leave your stories alone. Like if you tell a story, be humble about it, and that's all good. But you can really tell when a kid, you see it in East and you see it in those kids. You're like, he's got that thing, and he's humble, and he's trying as hard as he can, and that's why people step in and help you when they see you going after it, and you're humble and you're listening, you want to learn, you want to get better. None of us know it all. You and me are still trying to.
You're always learning,
wanting to get better.
I think that's a good place to end part one. Unless you got more.
I have one quick question.
You always got
we can end
question.
it. Yeah, I just got one. Well, I'm trying to soak up some information here. So, what would you guys say now your purpose professionally feels like that direction is? Like, and obviously that's changed from when you guys started, but I think like the common thread to this is like you guys have a purpose that you guys are going after. Is that, I know it's probably broad, but like professionally at least, what is your purpose in bass fishing or just fishing outdoors? Big question.
We just both looked at each other like, no, you go
like
first. You go first.
If you could boil it down to like one thing, what do you feel like your purpose in the outdoors or whatever you're doing and professionally is?
I would say it changes. Just like as my career lengthens, there's stepping stones through that. Currently, I feel like it is like building the community of the fishing community, if that makes sense. The camaraderie of the fishing community, understanding that even if we have different viewpoints or, different thoughts on things within the fishing industry, at the end of the day, we all still just like setting the hook and reeling in a bass and weighing it in. Like that's at the very base core of everything. We all love the exact same thing. We're all chasing the same thing. We all do it differently. But I feel like I want the sport to continue to grow. I've always wanted that. I've always wanted bigger non-endemic deals. I've always wanted that growth for the sport. And I feel like the only way we're going to get there is that if everyone, I don't care what tournament series you're in, what level you're fishing, what side of the country you live on, you have, even if you disagree with something, you still have to respect the other side enough and have the understanding to say that we both love the same thing, no matter where you're at in the industry. If you're a reporter, a tournament angler, a podcaster, whatever, you're talking about bass fishing because you love bass fishing. And like, if everybody, I guess, supported everyone, even if you disagree, but have the respect to support those other people, you don't have to listen to a podcast every single time it comes out if you don't like listening to a topic someone's talking about.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do another one to tear them down.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like building everybody up. It's the cliche, rising tide lifts all ships. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so if we want to lift the sport up, that's kind of, I feel like where my current mindset is. Like, I just want to lift the sport up. It's why I try to go watch guys win every time that it's possible. Even if I got to drag 2 kids there in a stroller without
Sick.
Tiff. Yeah. Whatever it is. That I don't know if that's like the best words to explain it, but that's kind of the thing that I want to happen.
I think I'd be exactly the same. I think just to elaborate on that would just be like leave a positive impact on the sport as far as like making it look. That was always my goal. Is like growing up, I just thought, how cool is this? And I wanted to show people. And they were like, fishing? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, it's so sick. Like, look at this. Like, and so we've gotten there, which is crazy because the bass boats and the trucks and all of that, they are so sick. Like, they look unbelievable. We've got jacked up trucks, sick boats. The wraps look unreal. I want to keep all that. That's what got me looking as a kid, and like, bass fishing is cool, and it wasn't cool for me. I took a lot of hell growing up being a fisherman and wanting to fish, and like people didn't understand it. So like not having that and you being cool when you got your truck as a kid, I think just leaving a positive, like making the sport look awesome. And to say what you were saying before, like there is guys I think that don't like the sport, that want to see it go down, that have podcasts that don't do a good job of representing the sport. They don't love it. Yeah. They're not going to make it. They haven't tried and they don't want to try. Don't listen to those guys. Like there are those people out there, and I'm like, I see them and I'm like, but people listen to that negative stuff and they're like, and I'm like, that's not, when I go home to Australia, I look at the news and I'm like, that's not happening in America. I just got back from there. It's none of this is going on. Yeah. But if you watch it, all the Aussies are like, America's burning, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's unreal. Like this, everything's great everywhere I went. Yeah. And so right now you can get caught up in listening to those few that want to see it take a step. Yeah. They actually want to see it tear down because they can't. They're not there. They're in their own life. They're not making it. Well, in our life last week at the river, bass fishing is on its way up. It's getting bigger. Huge crowds cheering for every single angler that stepped up on that last day. Gave me goosebumps. Like kids signing autographs, pumped for us to be there. Locals pumped, wanting us to promote their fishery. All amazing, positive stuff. Where are the podcasts saying all of this? Like, where are those ones? Yeah. So be careful with who you listen to at the same time. But me and Brandon both have the same thing of just wanting to make bass fishing cool and positive, and something that a young fella can like aspire to, and something that a parent can say, I would like my kid to get into that. Yeah. That's a big deal when you're looking in your kids trying to be a bass fisherman. You're like, what? Well, you're going to find some guys and you're going to look at them and you say, oh, that's a pretty cool way to live. That's how you want to represent it.
Just furthering the sport.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, since the number one thing for your success is listening, if you've listened to this point, well, then I hope it brings you some success. But we're going to continue this into another part. It's kind of a part 2 of this conversation, and we'll dive more into the sponsorship side of things, of lessons you've learned, kind of how you go about that, break down some of that stuff, because it is expensive. And when you get to the top, you do have to have a level of money to continue to play the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing, how you go about that, how you do it correctly. And there's not one set in stone thing. Every company is going to be different. Every angler is different, but we'll hopefully shed some light on that. Got any more questions, Vandy?
That was a hell of a podcast, boys.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catch you guys on the next one.